starting quarterback, running back, receiver, safety, corner. The Broncos have a lot of position battles, and we're going to break them all down here on the DNVR Broncos podcast, where we've got Henry Chisholm, we've got Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis with a little fun finger going on today.
Wait, what'd you say?
Well, he's got the, what do you call
Did you say
those?
fun finger?
Foam fingers?
Yeah, foam
Well, it's a fun finger.
I like it.
No, it's literally foam.
Yeah, it is a foam finger.
I like the fun
It's
finger.
fun wearing it, though.
We've got Tiff behind the camera and yours truly rocking and rolling with you today. Celebrating, is that Raising Cane's birthday? We have a little, is that a dog?
That's
Raising
Kane.
Cane. Oh, it's Kane himself.
Yeah.
Kane the 9.
Wearing
Yeah,
celebrating the
exactly.
25th anniversary of their birth. So happy birthday to Raising Cane's.
Yeah.
Happy to have you
wow.
back, Todd.
They're
Celebrating
they're
number.
a Taurus. That means they're a Taurus, too.
Oh,
They're
Oh,
Raising
a
Cane.
Taurus. Yeah, I thought you said tourist.
I'm a
and I was
Taurus.
like, yeah.
May 17th,
Wow.
Raising Cane's
Like
Taurus.
a bull.
You know what I'm saying?
that stuff. What's that even called?
Zodiac?
Yeah. That stuff is garbage.
I don't believe it either, but it is funny sometimes reading it and it clicks. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
actually is kind of like on track with certain people at certain times.
And
Yeah.
it's just such a guess. It's just like a clock.
Yeah.
It's right twice a day. So like those things are right. And you're like, damn, that is me. And then the next day you read it and you're like,
Oh,
it's
hell
not me
no.
at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh man, it's so funny though. Some people really buy into that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I guess some people really buy into superstitions, and I get superstitions where you're connected. Like Todd, if you're playing and you played a really good game wearing certain boxers, you're like, gotta wear those boxers next week. Maybe there's a little bit of mental thing to that because you do think about it, and then right before a play you think about it maybe. But like a fan sitting at home. And there's a lot of people in this company that think that they control if
Yeah.
Todd Davis is going to make the tackle or not, if they're standing or sitting on their couch. It's funny that
It is.
people think that they control that.
So every missed tackle, there's probably somebody in Colorado who wasn't doing
Yep.
their like
Yep.
Yep. Exactly.
superstition. I gotta go find.
Yeah,
Have a
exactly.
conversation
Yep.
with.
Yeah, so exactly. It's their fault. It's
Yeah.
not your fault.
It's not me.
What if in a meeting the coach is chewing you out and you're like, hey, actually it was Johnny in Centennial who was sitting down instead of standing up.
Yeah, he didn't have his backwards on his underwear on backwards that day.
Exactly.
It's all bad.
You said wearing the same boxers would be okay?
Yeah.
What about if you don't wash them? What
See-
if that's like the superstition? Like you don't wash your socks or like that sort of thing.
That's a thing with some people.
It
It's like
is.
not washing.
But it's kind of gross.
It's extremely gross. Were there any gross superstitions of any of your teammates or that you ever heard of?
We wear the same stuff. I don't think washing it takes away its powers, though.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you wear a pair of socks, normally you get new socks every game,
Yep.
like brand new, just for that game. But if you have a good game, maybe you wear the same ones, but you still let the training staff wash them. I don't think that washes away like the good that happened.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would wash my socks first. I wouldn't be too worried about the superstitions at all, honestly. I think I'd be changing everything up every week.
Wow.
Now that I think of it, yeah. Like I might go with like the shooter sleeve 1 week. Might have like the little wristband 1 week. Ooh, like the band where it like tells you all the plays. Just kind of like rotate through. Visor 1 week, no visor next. Big eye black. Maybe just like the one cross eye
so
black
you're
1
just,
week.
Yeah.
nothing's the same. Everything's changing.
Yeah, no, I just want to try it all out.
Wow.
At least for like the first like season or two. Get all the combinations, see what you like.
You say that, but then every day on the show, you always wear a black, a black hoodie and a black hat and white shoes,
Well, see, that's the thing,
without
though,
a
is
doubt.
like I don't have a person who just every day is like, here you go, like here's your socks for the week. You know, I got my 4 pairs of shorts, I got my 3 or 4 hoodies, I got a couple different hats.
You know, you're supposed to be that person to like
I know.
provide yourself with different clothes.
I know, it's true. But then you look at like Nikola Jokic, his wife picks out all of his outfits.
Does she? Or are you just
Yeah.
making that up?
No, it's true, and she like puts thought into it, and that would be nice.
I gotta say, I do love
So-
the Steve Jobs approach of like, I have the
Yeah.
one thing, but I have 10 of them, and I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I could do that.
Yeah, I'll buy like a few or 2 pairs. I never get like 3 pairs, but like 2 pairs of the same pants. That way you just like rotate.
No,
Especially when you shop
no
at-
flavor. You guys just SpongeBobbed out. Just like he opens the closet. It's
Why
all
do I
box
feel like you're
pants.
totally
Exactly.
throwing your girlfriend under the bus right
Yeah,
now?
it's
You're
true.
totally
That's- I'm
throwing her
used
to
under the
doing
bus.
that.
It's
did.
unreasonable.
He did.
Like
Very
you
on
can't
brand.
expect her to be in charge of like what I wear. Although, actually,
It's true.
it's funny that this came up today because I had like my Nike sweatshirt was just like sitting on the couch because I took it off and was like, okay, I gotta put that there. I'll just put it on tomorrow. And she was like, how about you wear the Nuggets one? I like the Nuggets one. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. And so she went into my closet and grabbed this and was like, wear this one today. I was like, sounds good.
Is she telling you that the Nike one is smelly and needs to be
Might
washed?
be time for a second copy of it. That's
Wow.
kind of what I'm
A little
thinking.
worn
Same thing
down.
with this hat, which actually this was the hat that I think I wore at training camp this year. But the sun kind of bleached it, you know.
I think that might be a sweat stain, not the sun.
The sun, well, the sweat, it works together. But see, like I like how
It
the
works
sun bleached
together.
it, and so she told me not to wear this one anymore, and so I didn't wear it for like 6 months until today. When I looked at it and I was like, I still think it kind of looks cool like that.
So you snuck while she was gone. You snuck and found the hat.
It's it's the way I am. It's the world I come from.
Wow.
So I
it's
think she's
Montana.
trying though. You said Jokic's wife puts out his clothes. I think she's trying. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
such a good point.
I'm down.
And you're just like not going for it.
The other thing is like when we do the show at 11 every day, I haven't hit like my creative space in the morning. Like it's more of like a wake up. Like, is there something I got? Like, did anything crazy happen in the world on Twitter? I guess like there's just kind of like those little things in the morning, and you aren't like fully like into your day by the time you have to like get ready and go. But like in the afternoon, it's like you're into the day. So like at this point, like I think we might go to Illegal Pete's or something today for happy hour, which always long happy hour, easy to hit that. And so like I'll go home, like I'll go to the gym, and then I'll change. You know.
You're talking about our show like it starts at 7 a.m.
Exactly.
the day is very well into it right now.
Well, I
guess
was
for
up
some,
till like
not all.
2. I was just like going through my notes and stuff,
True.
making sure
Yep.
everything's all structured.
Yep. So make sure to check out. We broke down practice yesterday.
Oh.
If you want even more detail, Henry and I both have pieces. Henry has over
Yes.
2,000 words on what happened in practice. Go
There
to
was a lot.
DNVR.
You read it, Todd?
.com.
It's great. Great work. I'm very curious about this creative space that you get into and you change after the gym. So is that like you put on like your rainbow pants and like your
It's more
hot
so
pink
like-
t-shirts? Like
It's
what is the creativeness?
Maybe even just a different pair of shorts this time of year.
And
I
the
did-
Nike
I am
hoodie.
due. Oh, yes, and Nike hoodie. I'm actually we're gonna talk a little bit later about some of this stuff. Hopefully, I haven't looked at the ad reads yet.
So really quick, we have a lot to get into, but over at DNVR _Broncos Twitter account, the NFL Network just reached out in a DMs 1 minute ago and called us by a name. They didn't say like, hello DNVR Broncos or hello Zach or hello Todd or hello Henry. You know what they called us? They referred to us as?
The big 3.
I wish. No.
You
The
losers?
NFL Network called us Harold.
Hello, Harold.
Hi, Harold. Reaching out from the NFL news desk. Harold.
Who's Harold?
Where is that coming from?
Maybe we're heralded as the best.
There we go. I'm gonna take it that direction.
They send so many of these. That, like you see the. I mean, I would imagine they're thinking Henry. Not that this is
They're
my video
no,
or anything
yeah,
like
they're
that.
definitely not thinking Henry.
You know what we should respond? You should just respond like, hi, and then choose a random name.
It's just
Just be like, hi, Jeff.
Hello,
Go
Roger.
ahead, do it. Yeah.
Roger. I like that
Should do like Deborah. Should do like, hi, Deborah.
one. So today's a big day.
Also, like I was just watching the Pro Football Talk because sometimes I like to see what the national people are saying, and you're just watching. It's like, oh, yep, there's using the DNVR Broncos like RG's video
Yep.
of practice when they're talking about it.
Yep. Love it. Awesome.
Yes.
Really cool. Shout out to everyone that uses our stuff.
Yes.
And it's a big day today in Broncos Country. The countdown has begun. 100 days away from the Broncos' first game of the season
100.
against the Seattle Seahawks. So tomorrow will be the Zach Allen day, the 99 days until kickoff. Today, 100 days away. Is that daunting or does it feel exciting? Like it feels like we're close, or is that like daunting because it's far?
It feels like we're close, and I feel like 100 days feels good right now because I don't feel like we could go out and win a ton of games yet. So I feel like 100 days, like every day will get better. So if we get 1% better every day, we'll be 100 times better.
There we go. I love that.
So like
starts.
people say that a lot, that 1% better every day. And somebody said some like college practice this week, something like that. And so somebody else went and did the math. If you got 1% better every day, by the end of the year, you'd be 37 times better than you were.
Wow.
Because the way it compounds. And then if you go like another year after that, you're like 1,000, I can't remember, something like that, 1,000 times better. Just crazy. Like if in Madden words, like if you're like a 70 overall, by the end of the year, you're like a 400.
Man, let's just try to get 1% better. I think that's
That does
actually
make it a
something
good
that
goal.
Russ would say all the time. So maybe let's not say that because
He always like puts his spit on things, so he'd be like, get 2% better.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, because he's superhuman. We also are midway through OTAs right now. And Todd, is this true? Yesterday, Sean Payton said that OTAs and mandatory minicamp are pretty much the exact same thing. Just one is obviously mandatory. One's 3 days. The media gets to see all of mandatory minicamp instead of just seeing 1 out of every 3 practices at OTAs. But he said, like, in terms of the practices, it's all the same. So he made the point yesterday that we're midway through this true OTA part, including mandatory minicamp.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I think the days get a little bit longer in the mandatory minicamp, but as far as practice goes, pretty much is the same thing. Guys are doing the same jobs. I think we restart for mandatory minicamp, like as far as the playbook. So we'll restart like on the day 1 now, start running that stuff again. But as far as practice goes, pretty similar.
By the way, we've had quite an intro to the show. A lot going on, so I want to welcome you into the Toyota Lounge here at the DNVR Bar, where, of course, the Toyota Lounge is powered by your local Front Range Toyota stores, which is the official vehicle of DNVR. If you're tuning in the Toyota chat on this fun Friday, hit us with a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. We've got a lot of the usuals in there. We've got Strez, Jordan, Adam, KW, Ivan. We appreciate all of you guys rocking and rolling with us today. And so because we're midway through the OTAs and really the practices that matter in this offseason, we want to take a look at where these position battles for the Broncos stand right now. And Sean Payton pointed to a couple of positions outside of quarterback that have very heated position battles where it's pretty much up for grabs right now. So I want to take a look at those battles and let's dive into them, starting with quarterback, the most important position. But first, I got to give a shout out to our friends over at Vestibule, where this is so cool. If you want to buy stock in Baron Browning, you can actually do that. And it's not like Fantasyland. You actually buy stock in how you think he's going to do. So I believe this season he has a $3 million salary, but is a free agent after this season. So if you think that his value is going to increase, what you can do is you can buy stock and you get a portion of his future earnings, which is so cool. And now Vestibule, they've paired up with Baron Browning for this, but they're going to add more athletes at the college and at the professional level. But you can start off with a Denver Bronco. This is a company that I believe is a national company, and they are starting off with Baron Browning. Man, Baron Browning has so much talent and potential.
Yes.
If you think that he's going to go out and get a big contract after this season, now might be the time to invest in him. So if you want to invest in Baron Browning and look at the other athletes that they're adding in the future, you can download the Vestibule app or scan the QR code on our screen to download it at Vestibule, Vestibule app now. And Baron's IPOs are available right now, and there's a limited number of shares for purchase. So if you want to get in, make sure to download the app or scan the QR code on our screen.
Also, shout out to Circa. Today's a big day. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but the Rockies on Circa have plus 300 odds.
Wow.
Against the Dodgers, which is there's a reason for that. Like,
Yeah.
the Dodgers are much better. They've got all-stars at every position. The Rockies will have an all-star because every team has to have one, but that's kind of why. It's a big day, though, because if the Rockies win today, May 31st, they'll have a winning record for the month of May.
Wow.
And so that would be really nice for me. And
if they don't, is it a 500 record or is it a losing
it would be
record?
under. They would be.
Wow.
They're either 14-13 or 13-14.
Wow.
Yep. So it's a really big game. I think I'm gonna make that bet mostly because that plus 300 is the best odds you're gonna find. Because I was actually looking around this morning, and for the most part, the sports books have it at like plus 270. But because Circa is Circa, they have those tighter splits, which means that especially when the lines get wider, when you start looking at like plus 300, plus 400, you get much more value at Circa than you do at the other sports books. We love them. We've been out to their resort in Las Vegas, which is awesome, and we recommend that with the stadium swim and all the fun things they have out there. But if you're in Colorado and you want to do some betting, Circa Sports is the best place to do it. So download the app at circasports.com. Circa Sports bets can only be made while physically located in the state of Colorado. Must be 21 or older. All rights reserved. Circa Sports Colorado encourages you to gamble responsibly. Gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER or visit problemgamblingcolorado.org.
All right, so let's just dive into the most important one right now. And this is one that Sean didn't highlight because I think it's so freaking obvious. And he knows that everyone's already talking about the quarterback position. So he didn't need to point this one out. Todd, as we stand here midway through OTAs, do the Broncos have an obvious answer who's going to be their starting quarterback?
Yes, 100%. It's going to be Bo Nix, without a doubt. I think he's performing well as a young rookie quarterback. And from Sean Payton, all we hear is like glowing reports about him and his ability to understand the playbook, which we know, as for any rookie, that's the hardest part of the game. And I think that was going to be the only thing that really stopped him from being the starting quarterback for the Broncos this year. If he has that down pack and is picking it up the way that he's supposed to, he will definitely be the starting quarterback, and I think he's a front runner by a long shot.
Yep. And Todd, I completely agree with you. Everything you said, and Circa and Las Vegas completely agrees. You know what the odds are for him to be the starting quarterback? Henry, do you know?
Yes.
You always cheat.
I don't know that. I feel like it's kind of my job to know those things.
So wait, what odds have you heard?
I heard minus 375.
I was going to say minus 400.
And I heard minus 450
Wow.
already.
Wow.
Which is, I mean, I think just a couple of weeks ago, I saw initial lines after they drafted Bo Nix, and I think it was like right around 100. So Vegas has heard what Sean Payton has said about Bo Nix, and they've seen the initial reports, exactly what you said. The hardest thing I have to imagine for a first-round pick to prove that he can be the guy is just pick up the playbook right away, because you obviously know the physical traits coming out of school, and and that's not really going to change much from the time you draft him to 2 weeks into rookie mini camp and then OTAs, and so he's got the mental stuff. So I think those odds stack up with exactly what you said, Todd. Henry, I'm curious if you are along those similar lines as thinking it's that strong because of what you said and wrote about Stidham yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Stidham has been more productive through the two practices. First one was very close. Yesterday was pretty close, except for you throw in the 55-yard bomb to Marvin Mims that was just perfectly placed. It was beautiful. We'll say it again because, Todd, you haven't heard. But so it's like this big post from Marvin who comes across. It's cover 3 with Skinner at the top. He kind of rounds it to get in front of Skinner. And it's Tremon Smith playing this boundary. And so Tremon Smith's super fast. And so the ball's just hanging in the air. And you see him running. And you're like, he might get there. It just perfectly placed over Tremon's hands, past Skinner. And Marvin catches it and goes in. And that's back-to-back weeks that Jarrett has had the best pass of the day of any quarterback. The last one was the post to Troy Franklin, and because of that, like, I think he has played better. They both played really well, and you're probably nitpicking, but it doesn't matter. Like, this was kind of already decided beforehand, I think, unless something goes horribly wrong and Bo just throws picks every day.
100%, yeah. And if it's anywhere close, unfortunately, tie goes to the rookie. Unfortunately for Stidham, I should say, because he has been very impressive. He's looked a lot better. Last training camp was tough for Stidham. He looked Ben DiNucci was a better quarterback than Jarrett Stidham was last training camp. And so I thought that we might know Bo Nix as a starting quarterback by now already if Stidham performed that way. But Stidham, to his credit, has been not just good, he's been very good, but Bo has been nearly just as good outside of like that one big play from Stidham, which was very good. But the fact that Bo is keeping it close, means that he is going to be the guy. So for the Vegas odds, I believe Jarrett Stidham is plus 400 to be the starting quarterback. So if you think he's going to keep performing this way, the odds are favorable for you. Zach Wilson plus 1,000.
Yeah.
So 10-1 odds that Zach Wilson's going to be a starting quarterback, and it's kind of where we view it right now. Zach is clearly like kind of the number 3 on the depth chart.
But I do think that we've only seen him play with the 3s. So we've only seen Bo with the 1s, Stidham with the 2s, and Zach Wilson with the 3s because they rotate Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we're only there on the Thursdays. I think the difference between playing with the 1s and 2s is pretty slim in this camp because all the receivers are rotating and all the running backs are rotating and the centers are rotating. On defense, a bunch of spots are rotating. And so the difference between playing with the starters and playing with the 2s, I don't think it's too wide. Like there's a gap. Like this year. I will say the gap between playing with the 1s and 2s and playing with the 3s is massive. Like those guys are it's just a mess. Like Zach Wilson, like he's just getting these free runners off the side, these safety DB blitzes. He got sacked on 2 of those. There's like a free runner up the middle. He gets sacked on another. And he hasn't, like he threw the interception last week. That's on him. But I also think that he's kind of been dealt the toughest hand. Now, that doesn't mean you all of a sudden say like he's right there with the others. But it does mean that I'm not willing to say like Stidham has a clear grasp on the backup job until we at least like see what happens when Zach Wilson gets a chance with the 1s or the 2s, and we'll get that during mandatory minicamp.
Todd, your face said it all, but some people aren't watching and can only listen. What do you think about that?
I just think there's a big fall off between the 1s and the 2s. Like even if the wide receivers are rotating, like is Pat Surtain playing with the 2s? Like
he hasn't been practicing.
So I think there's just a big fall off between the 1s and 2s at every position besides D-line. D-line's probably the only one I feel like the 2s are really, you know what I'm saying, really rocking and rolling. But as far as everybody else, when we look at this roster and we put it together, I think you see a starter, and then you see a potential starter, and then you see
fighting to make the team.
Yes, some guys that are you know fighting to stay in the NFL, work hard, and make the team. So I wouldn't say it was the same with the 1s and the 2s. I don't know.
I would say the safeties and having Singleton. Because they are like rotating the other linebackers. So like one day the 1s and 2s. The safeties though, when you have PJ and Brandon Jones, like there is probably a gap there versus, a JL Skinner, for example. And then like Caden Stern's not practicing. Otherwise you'd be saying like the gap isn't there. Or could be rotations or whatever it may be. I really think, to me, the big difference is that you have like 4 solidified starters on the offensive line. But I didn't think the pressure was really getting to Stidham too much yesterday. So, I don't know. I think the biggest jump is the 2s to the 3s, at least in this camp.
So one of the things that you said is that safety position, and the 3 other positions that last week Sean identified as kind of being wide open and having tons of competition for the starting job, for the backup jobs to make the roster was wide receiver, running back, and then Sean said secondary. So we'll kind of break that down into cornerback and safety. And Henry, let's just start with, you mentioned the safety spot. Is it pretty clear what's going to happen there?
I think so. Like Brandon Jones, you bring him in to be a starter. And he's your starting free safety. I think it's pretty much that simple. I think outside of that, Caden Stearns is still recovering from the injury that kept him out last year. And he's the guy you'd really expect to push PJ Locke. And when you look at PJ out there, he knows what he's doing. He's in the right spots. There was one play yesterday. It's like just a run to the left side, and he's up in the box. He's like stepping inside, or no, he like steps outside to like force the run back inside, then steps in and makes the tackle. It's like playing 2 gaps. Like, he just looks like a veteran. And I think that as the incumbent, he had a bit of an advantage. Caden Stearns, who's pushing him the most, hasn't even been on the field, and PJ's looked like everything you could hope that he would look like. So I would be surprised if PJ's not the starter, but training camp is probably, you can't say anything for sure until training camp.
And what's kind of crazy is you're spot on by saying like he looks like a veteran, and when you think about PJ, you're like, man, he's like just getting his first opportunity to really be the starter, so he's young. I think this is about to be his like 5th year in the NFL, which is crazy. So he looks like a veteran. Because he is a veteran, actually. And so for that reason, for the way that he stepped in when Kareem Jackson wasn't able to play for a lot of last year, I think it's absolutely PJ. And Todd, yesterday I asked Sean who he wants to step up, who is stepping up in that leadership role on defense with Justin Simmons gone now. And the first person he pointed to two people. He said Baron Browning, but the first person he pointed to was PJ Locke. He said he's already feeling PJ's leadership. It's really hard for me to believe a head coach is pointing to a specific player as being a leader, stepping up in a big leadership role from shoes that were left by Justin Simmons, and then that guy not be the starter. So to me, that was pretty much him saying, yeah, he's going to be your starting safety.
I agree. I don't think that head coaches in particular like throw around the leadership to everybody or say this guy's a leader, this guy is behaving like one. I think they're very, very selective on who they, kind of deem as a leader. Because once you say that as a head coach, like guys are going to start looking to that guy. They're going to start following that guy. So to have him mention PJ and then him not be on the field would be kind of weird. So I agree. I think PJ is going to be the guy.
Yep. And then, like you said, Brandon Jones, I mean, it's going to be number 6 and number 22 back there. I feel like that one is pretty much solidified. And maybe Caden Stearns can make some play. But one of the things we talked about last week, I said maybe we see a little bit of a rotation at safety more than we ever have in the past, because these past couple of years, 5 or 6 years, it's been Kareem Jackson when he's not suspended and Justin Simmons. It's been those guys playing 100% of the snaps at safety. And I said, maybe we'll see a little more rotation. And you said, I don't know if that's what we want to see. We might want to see 2 guys. And this past week, I'm totally changing my tune. I think it's really going to be, I think we'll see a little bit of Caden Stearns, but I think for the most part, Todd, they're going to go with what you said, and it's going to be more of those 2 guys than a rotation, I think.
Yeah, I think the greatest ability that you can have on the field is availability. And PJ has been available. No disrespect to Caden, but he's battled injury. I think you have a guy that's been available. He's made plays, and now he's showing up, becoming a leader on your team. I think that's an easy fit for your team, and it's not complicated. And it's not many times you see safeties rotating or DBs rotating. You may see one come in on a nickel package or have a special package for somebody on third down. But when you have good DBs and a good secondary, those guys are in the game usually no matter what.
Yep.
And I'd add, like, Brandon Jones has been quiet. Like, he's got to be the starter. Like, they brought him in to be the starter. Like, he's a very talented guy who they think will really take off. And I think they're right. But the only time that I even noticed him yesterday was there was this crossing route from Michael Bandy, and he was like a half step behind him, and there was a bunch of pressure on a blitz, and it was a bad throw. But that was the only time that he's really shown up to me. Again, like, as a free safety, sometimes it's a good thing. That means you're in position and nobody's testing you. But I'd like to see a pick or a breakup or something like that. And in terms of the packages, it's interesting because with PJ and Brandon Jones, PJ's your strong safety, Brandon Jones is your free safety, and there's really no question about it. But if you bring in Caden Stearns, does he become your free safety so that you can then play Brandon Jones in like a big nickel type situation? Because you turn on the highlights, and the highlight reel is all just him blitzing and like the sacks that he gets and stuffing runs in the backfield, and he's good deep. But I do think that's the way I'd look at it. And I think J.L. Skinner has a chance to earn a role too. And he's so big that I think he's been kind of put in the box of being a box safety. I think he might be a free safety. I think that talking to him a bunch last year, he was like literally taking notes on everything that Justin Simmons did, everything that Kareem Jackson did, and just like what he was taking notes on, like what they take notes on when they eat, those sorts of things. But he seems like, with the range that he has and the length that he has, he might be a free safety. So they have like some interesting pieces there, and I'm curious what those packages would be.
Yeah. They'll probably have a few, but I mean, we're talking maybe 7 plays a game
at
that
most.
This happens, at most. I think you think about Jaquan, like you still have to get him on the field as a nickel. He performed amazingly when he was in the game. So you got to be able to balance it. And I think with the D-line we have now and the big bodies that we have and the rotations, I think there's less need for a big nickel because you don't need somebody to come in there and stop the run, because the D-line plus Jonas plus Singleton should be able to get it done even in a nickel package. And if they can't, then that's like a bigger problem. But like you said, there's definitely going to be packages where they run it 6 or 7 times a game. That's on them, but they'll have something to get somebody in the game.
I think the big nickel is tempting against 12 personnel. So you're not taking away your natural nickel steps. You're taking away 3-4 snaps and say, like, we have the athletes, like, we can increase our coverability and we think they can defend the run. And also third downs. Like, if you want to throw Skinner out there as like a green dog up the middle type blitzer, just have a match running back, especially with Drew Sanders gone. I think that's somebody who could find a role there. But it is going to be really interesting. At the same time, we said all this same stuff last year.
Yeah.
And a part of it's just that Caden got hurt, but you just never see it as much as you think. Like, it is really like 5 snaps a game, if that.
Yeah. And against 12 personnel, I love the 5 down versus 4 down and a safety.
Yeah.
Because you put Jonathan Franklin Myers on top of DJ Jones on top of,
Yeah.
I don't know if that sounds crazy, but you put all of them in the game at once, it's going to be hard to run. And then got those big outside linebackers to kind of crush the tight ends while they're in the game.
Yeah.
Is a big nickel a quarter? Not on football, but in terms of the medals. Wouldn't that be the next size? Because a penny
would be
and
bigger.
a dime are smaller. So a big nickel is a quarter. Did you guys see the quarter size hail that was happening? Maybe even bigger than that. Like, not full tennis ball, maybe golf ball size hail that happened in the Denver metro area
It was
last
really
night.
big.
Did you get it?
No, we
You
didn't get any
didn't
of
get it? I think it was like up kind of towards Boulder maybe in Louisville, and it was also in Denver a little bit, but more, what is that, northwest?
Yeah. We had like 10, 15 minutes where it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it was like bouncing off of windows and stuff. Lexi brought like the cushions for the chairs on the deck inside, and I was like, with our new chairs, and I was like, we can't. She was like, should we bring the actual chairs in and the little table out there? And I was saying, like, we can't. Every time there's a storm, we can't be moving these inside. Otherwise, I'd prefer just not to have them. So let's leave them out there, and if the chairs can't handle a storm, we'll get new chairs that can.
She was probably right,
It was a bad
because this wasn't just a storm. This was the most damaging hailstorm in Colorado since 2017.
Man.
It's almost, you pretty much have to go back to the last time the Broncos had a winning record. And this was the most damaging hailstorm in Denver. And you know what that means. It means you got to check out and give our friends a call over at Red Hawk Roofing, because they are the hail experts. And if you were affected, and they will take care of you. They offer a free consultation. So if you need help with the hail, Red Hawk Roofing has your back. And of course, Red Hawk Roofing offers the upgrade, the free upgrade to hail impact resistant shingles. So especially if your roof was just damaged from hail, you want that free upgrade to the impact or hail impact resistant shingle. They've also got quality materials, decades of experience, quick response time. They've got Colorado's best estimators and contractors, free no obligation roof and property inspection, and free in-depth photo reports for all inspections. So don't wait for the next hailstorm. Give them a call and check them out over at redhawkroofing.com or call them at 720-771-8921, and make sure to tell them that DNVR sent you. They've been part of the DNVR family for a long time, so you know you can trust them, and we love supporting local businesses like our friends over at Red Hawk Roofing. So check them out for your home or business over at redhawkroofing.com, or give them a call at 720-771-8921.
And shout out to some more local businesses, your Front Range Toyota stores. I know Toyota's national, but we definitely love our Front Range stores. Yep. They have tons of Toyotas for you to choose from, and you're going to love them all, whether it's the Tacoma or the Land Cruiser. They also offer 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, like the 4Runner. If you want to go up to Estes Park, if you're thinking about going to Vail or Aspen, I think, all-wheel drive and a four-wheel drive, whether in the snow, or you just want to drive up the side of a mountain for no reason, I think you will definitely have some fun at Toyota. You can get the SUVs, the RAV4, the Grand Highlander. They have so many different Toyotas for whatever your speed is. If you're a fast guy, you get a fast Toyota. If you're slow and controlled, like to look good, you want to have the family, they have all types of Toyotas for you. And right now you can visit your Front Range Toyotas at a location near you. They have the Auto Nation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Arroyo, Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR.
Okay, so let's move on to the cornerback spot. And if you're tuning in, make sure to hit us with a thumbs up. If you're watching on Twitter, a new feature that we have, jump over to YouTube. The link is on Twitter. Click that because it gets you access to the chat. It's a better stream, and it helps us out a little more. Hit us with a thumbs up, and also follow us on Twitter so you know exactly when we're going live. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Okay, so the cornerback spot. Obviously, Pat Surtain, starting outside cornerback. But then who's going to be the starting guy opposite of him? A week ago, I would have told you, I think the front runner, and I think this is very different than quarterback and safety. I think this one's still wide open, but I would have told you the front runner is probably Riley Moss. But Riley Moss has some back spasms pop up. Sean thinks he's going to be back next week at practice, only going to hold him out for less than a week, but this is one where, man, it concerns me. He had a groin injury last offseason that really slowed his development. Now this pops up, especially with the back. I think it just makes this position even more wide open. You got Levi Wallace. You've got Damari Mathis. You've got maybe even Jaquan plays outside at times. We've seen Chris Harris go from a fantastic slot cornerback to a fantastic outside cornerback. And if you're going to have one or the other, if they can be just as good outside like Chris was, that's probably a little more valuable. And then, of course, Riley Moss. Who do you think's the front runner right now?
It's still Riley. I think when we saw him last week, he looked ready. I also think, though, every time I see Jaquan, I like him on the boundary just a little bit more. And I'm still not ready to say, like, I want to see him out there. I still think that you want to put him in situations where he's going to succeed and just let him keep growing and growing. He's still a young player. Like, if he can string together 17 really good games from the slot, you're in a great position next year. Maybe that's when you put more on his plate. At the same time, though, you watch him out there and say, he was the second best defender on the field for the Broncos yesterday. And I think you want him on the field more. And so if he's going to have the same issues that we know that he has, which is that he's like 5'8", 5'9". He doesn't have the longest reach. Yesterday, David Sills was able to jump up in the air and catch a ball, and he just wasn't. Yeah. He wasn't able to reach up there and knock that ball away. At the same time, though, like, you're comparing him to Riley Moss, not the tallest guy. Damari Mathis, not the tallest guy. And if that's his flaw, I think there are enough strengths, and we've seen enough from him to say that at the very least, the Broncos should be very, very tempted to make him the starting cornerback and then move him inside in the nickel.
What do you think about that?
I think, you brought up Chris Harris. I think he doesn't get enough credit because of how hard that is to do. Yeah. If you look around the NFL, there are very few outside corners that ever play nickel because it's just a different ball game. And him being able to do both, of course, tip my hat to him. And, of course, he was an all-pro player, but very, very hard to do.
So can't just take that for granted.
No, you can't. You can't. Can Jaquan do it? I think he can. But I do think Damari Mathis may be a better fit to start the season. Maybe over time, he can play both roles, and then who comes in on the third down to play the outside corner? Like, when Roby came in, then Chris moved to the inside, but we had a very talented first-round draft pick that came in and played outside corner for us. That's always tough. But I think if they kept it how it is and played a lot more nickel this year, I think Jaquan would be the nickel, Damar would be probably the outside corner, and then Pat Surtain will be the other outside corner.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see because, we've seen it just in these couple of OTA practices that Riley Moss and Damari are both getting a shot to win that job. So a couple of people in the comments have said that I didn't mention Chris Abrams-Drain, the rookie. Kind of a reason I didn't mention him, it is so difficult for whatever reason for rookie corners to come in, especially when you're not a first-round pick. If you're not a first-round pick, you have a very uphill battle, especially at that corner spot to play. And so I don't really think he's competing for that. It would be a great thing if he wins the job because it would mean that he just jumped a bunch of guys that have been on the team for a while now, especially jumping Levi Wallace, a vet. So that would be probably maybe best-case scenario because it's like, wow, they really got a great player. I just don't think that that's going to be the case. I think, though, really quick, I think Jaquan would love to be moved outside. Because starting outside corners, elite guys, are getting paid $20 million plus.
Yep.
I think there's only one nickel in the NFL making $10 million a year. So the money's on the outside. So I'm sure if Jaquan gets the opportunity, he would jump on that. But I mean, if he continues to prove he's an elite inside nickel, $10 million a year isn't too bad.
It was crazy because nickel's harder.
Yeah, exactly.
Nickel's definitely a harder position.
The thing is, like, it's just the body type for the outside guys. When they're like 6'3" and run like a 4.39 and like that type of athlete is just more rare.
I mean,
but when
Patrick
it comes to
Surtain's so rare in terms of his
like,
physique.
They're just tough to find, whereas it's just tougher to appreciate. Like, you've got to be so smart in the nickel for that to work.
Yeah.
And for Jaquan in particular, I think, like, he had the 3 tackle for loss game against the Chiefs, which I think was like it was the most tackles for loss for a cornerback since they started counting tackles for loss in like the 90s. Not just for the Broncos, but for any team. Like, that's a freaky performance. A lot of what he does really well, though, is like shed blocks and make plays in the backfield or blitz off the edge and force fumbles, do those sorts of things. And you don't get those same opportunities when you're playing on the boundary. So I'd be really curious to see it, and I think he would succeed, but I don't want to put him in a situation where he fails and halfway through the season you're saying like, oh, you got to take him out of this role and just build him up from the inside, let him do what he's really good at, and then next year maybe expand.
I mean, with that and what Todd said about you can't just take it for granted because Chris Harris did it. He was an all-pro. Doesn't mean everyone can do it. Let's keep him inside, find someone else for that outside spot. Okay, let's hop to the other side of the ball and talk about the other 2 big positions. And let's start with the running back position. This one is, I mean, the Broncos have 5 guys, and entering the offseason, there was an argument to be made that any one of these guys could make the team and be the starter. Any one of these guys could not be on the team. I personally am starting to see things already shake out and start to see some separation. Henry, what are you seeing?
I think I don't think I could be surprised at anything that happens. And the craziest thing that happens is that Javonte isn't on the team at the start of the season. That would be the most surprising. At the same time, like ESPN put out their story. It was like every team gets a superlative. Like, what are you the best at or the most likely? And for the Broncos, they were most likely to be making trades in August. And one of the things that came up was like, Javonte's in the final year of his contract. If you wanted to, you could trade him. And there's just...
Oh, you would be selling so low on Javonte.
Definitely. But you have so many guys who I think just about everybody has really flashed. Like we mentioned yesterday, Javonte had that jump cut where you're like, okay, that knee looks better. Jaleel, the speed is showing up. Like the runs are on the edge, also just when he's running in space. Blake Watson's first practice looked good. Estime's size, and he's falling back a little bit with the injury. But you really do have 5 backs there who are, I think, have a good chance to make the team. And that just creates chaos. In terms of who's going to be the week 1 starter, Javonte should be the heavy favorite, though.
Yes. Because I'm saying if Javonte's healthy, which it looks like he is, who's touching him as a running back?
I mean, he's a second-round draft pick that has showed that he can be better than a second-round draft pick. So if he's healthy again, that's who you're talking about.
Led the league in broken tackles as a rookie.
Yeah. So I'm exactly with you, Todd, and that's why I see big separation with 2 guys. I think we might see the Javonte and Jaleel be the Mark Ingram and the Alvin Kamara. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be those players, but I think Sean would actually use them in that exact same way that he used Mark Ingram and Kamara, which is using them a ton and using them in those sort of situations. Jaleel looks so freaking fast right now, and Javonte looks healthy. And so going in, I thought like maybe Javante's not going to make the team. Maybe Blake Watson's going to take over Jaleel's spot. It's still very early, but the initial signs are that these 2 guys are actually kind of pulling away. And now it's these other 3 guys maybe fighting for 1 or 2 roster spots, and we'll see who takes that. But I think this is probably best case scenario for the Broncos too. Have your stud be your stud, and then have this undrafted guy just turn into the explosive playmaker that you saw flashes of last year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we can't trade and cut and get rid of everybody. Like, we need somebody who's played some snaps in the NFL and done it at a high level. So I hope Javonte is not on the trade block because we all know when he's healthy, he's very, very dominant. And I mean, if we can give other guys, multiple years to come back from injury, I think that he deserves like 1 year. Okay, erase it from your mind. Let's see what he does this year. And so far, so good.
Yeah. And I think again, in a vacuum, there's a very, very strong case for any one of these guys to make the team. Obviously, like Samaje last year, I think by the numbers, the second most efficient third down back in the NFL behind Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Like in terms of just production when you go his way. Like the raw numbers, I think he was like third among running backs in receiving yards. He might have been, I think he was third. Blake Watson, again, there's no reason he can't do what Jaleel did last year. Like undrafted free agent running backs are one of the big spots where guys make the team. And you're talking about a guy who was one of the 5 or 6 highest paid undrafted free agents in the league. So in a vacuum, it's so easy to see it. It's just different last year when Jaleel had to beat out Tony Jones Jr., which is just a little bit different competition. But this really is going to be, for those 3rd and 4th spots, if they decide to keep 4, it's going to be, they're going to have a good player there.
Yeah.
Regardless of what direction they go.
100%. And that's kind of the exact same spot the Broncos are in at the receiver position as well. We want to dive into this. We also have a ridiculous draft that I want to get to. So let's break those down. But I want to give a shout out to our new diehard members right now. And bear with me here. We got Bloke Leaf, Haggis, Buff, J.K. Henley, Dak 3. Maybe he wants Dak Prescott trade to the Broncos. M.R. Knackerman, Jordan Call 33, Apps 22, Howard Mutt, Stidman 69, Waddy Watts, Sean PG 10, Nolan Nuggets, Mambo Pablo Jerka. Interesting. Brian Wardhill, Louis Ledham, Mike Marlowe, Schultze, Chris Rutledge 8, Julia Simone, and Gold Sloggerado. Welcome to our family and the diehards. And if you want to become a diehard and get shouted out, make sure to go to thednvr.com and become a diehard. Get you access to so many things, discounts on events, merchandise. Also gives you the right to leave a comment and ask a question on our mailbag, which we do every Monday. Make sure to leave a comment over at thednvr.com on our mailbag so we can read it this coming Monday. All right, let's dive into the wide receiver spot. Obviously, right, if Courtland is back, he's number 1.
Yep.
Okay, so now number 2. And we want to say there's 3 starting wide receivers on the team?
Yeah, let's do 3.
So then, Todd, who's number 2 and who's number 3 as of right now?
As of right now, Marvin Mims is number 3, and Josh Reynolds is number 2.
Yeah, I just sub in Tim Patrick for Josh Reynolds. I might even go Marvin number 2 just because I think he's definitely been as productive as any receiver in camp. You throw in the big play yesterday, he's probably been the most productive of any receiver. I think he's going to get the benefit of the doubt just because they want him on the field. Like, he's their 2nd-round pick last year. So if it's a tie, you would imagine he's right up there. I think Tim Patrick, though, that's just a really good receiver.
Yeah, it's just the toughest thing with Tim is hasn't played in 2 years. He does look,
still a
to
gamble.
me, he looks good enough.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's coming off missing 2 seasons, but you can't really see that until training camp and preseason. Marvin, absolutely. I agree with both of you. Marvin is absolutely one of these guys. Sean Payton loves him and just continues to emphasize how they need to get him on the field and how it wasn't him that didn't have a bigger role last year. It was actually the team holding him back. Sean pretty much admitted that yesterday too. And then kind of the crazy thing about it is you have Josh Reynolds, you have Troy Franklin, you have Tim Patrick, you have Brandon Johnson, and you have Devon Vele. You have 5 guys competing for that 3rd spot, and you can make a case for any of them, and I could say yes to that. So you're not wrong saying Josh Reynolds. You're not wrong saying Tim Patrick. I'll say by the end of the season, it's Devon Vele. Now, that's not to start the season, but, I mean, you're talking about a younger Tim Patrick, and that's exactly what he has seemed to be at the beginning. I'll say right now, though, man, I want to go Tim, but you just don't know after missing 2 seasons, so I'll go Josh Reynolds with you right now. But just, again, how that running back spot's wide open. That 3rd receiver, maybe even the 2nd receiver, but really the 3rd receiver spot, so wide open. You are going to be moving on from a good player. And maybe in August you're trading your 6th or 7th receiver for a 7th-round pick or something, but you're getting some value instead of just cutting them.
Yeah, and the reason I say Josh Reynolds is because he just did it at a high level, and he has done it before. I think Tim Patrick's a better receiver overall. He just is coming back from injuries. For us, it's the same thing for me as getting Brandon Jones, who did it at a kind of a high level sharing time. Mm-hmm. We pay him money to come down and be the full-time starter. Like, you go get what's the other guy's name? The wide receiver.
Josh Reynolds.
You go get Josh Reynolds because he's a piece to your puzzle. Mm-hmm. I don't think you go get a guy who had a good amount of yards last year, but he also split time just to now have him come and sit the bench. I think you bring him here to make plays. So
yeah, I think the big thing is they're going to be rotating these guys so much just because that's what Sean Payton does. Is everybody has their different skill sets and you find which ones you want to use. And I mean, you get halfway through the season and you see what's working and what's not. So like, we want to go big with these receivers because we can run well out of it and they're making these tough catches and Bo's doing well underneath and on the sidelines with the jump balls. Like it'll kind of narrow out by the end of the year. But I think early on, I wouldn't be surprised if I'd say everybody outside of Courtland winds up with, 25 snaps a game or something like that in these first 3-4 weeks just to see how things pan out.
Speaking of Courtland, we mentioned in 10 days is the start of mandatory minicamp, the first time that a player gets fined for not being here. Courtland obviously has not been to any of the voluntary things. It's just voluntary. Maybe we get to hear from him soon.
Maybe.
Stay tuned. I'm not talking about media. I'm talking about us.
We are media.
Live in the flesh.
I'm not talking about... It's not like everyone's going to be able to talk to him. So stay tuned to that. Maybe next week you're going to want to stay tuned because that is going to be just fascinating. Okay, we have 8 minutes before we got to get out of here, and we have a ridiculous draft to get to. You guys want to dive into it?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we are doing... It's too bad Yahir's not here today because this was his idea. He was really excited for it. And do we have a draft board?
Yes. I just don't know what the heck we're doing.
It is the worst places for a birthday party. What's the number? Is there an easy number 1 pick for the worst place for a birthday party?
Oh, no. I mean...
Tons of number 1 picks.
Exactly. Like, so you could really go any direction you want.
I love this. Let's dive in to the draft here. And who wants number 1 pick?
How's the board shake out?
I don't know. How does the board shake out?
Let's see who
did you?
Hank has the number 1 pick.
Hank has
That's what I
the number 1
didn't
pick.
want. Oh, boy.
Is there any way you could pull the board up? Awesome. Thank you. All right, Henry. The number 1 overall pick for the worst places for a birthday party. And since this one is so wide open, I want the Toyota chat to throw some places at us. And we've actually already got a lot of people throwing some names. Wow, 2 of the same one coming in right now.
I know. And actually, they chose mine. Also, people against Chuck E. Cheese is crazy to me.
I thought that's where you were going to go.
No. That would not be on the worst list. Prison. Yeah, if you were in prison for your birthday, that would not be fun.
It could be lit, though. Yeah,
I wouldn't bet on
prison
it.
wine
some
or something.
Some toilet booze and some tattoos.
Toilet booze and tattoos.
I go prison.
Holy cow. Prison. Yeah, that's a good one. I think so. Unless like your crew's with you.
You know?
Some people like prison. I mean, it's a very small number.
How many people have you talked to that like prison?
Well, let's see.
Just hearsay?
There was this guy who I was walking with.
Yeah.
Remember my scooter wreck?
No.
Oh yeah, you crashed.
Well, but yeah. So I was walking, like the last 5 blocks. And I was walking with this guy who just gotten out of prison. And
How did you know this?
Because it was because I was talking about the
prison.
Nuggets. He was like wearing Nuggets hat, and I was like, yeah, that was fun, right? And he was like, oh, I was in prison for it. I was like, no way. And he said his cellmate was from Florida. And so he was like this big Heat fan. And so they had like all these bets and stuff, things that I didn't know were allowed to go on in prison. But he said he kind of enjoyed watching that with his cellmate, who he got to kind of rub it in his face. Super nice guy.
Very cool.
Wow. Okay, so Todd, where are you going with the number 2 pick?
A worst place to have a birthday party. Let's go with hell.
Oh, wow.
Because I was thinking cemetery, like you could be dead,
Really?
but hell, you're dead and you went to hell.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good place. I'm gonna.
No, it is not.
Pretty hot.
Yeah, it would be hot too. I'm gonna go a funeral home here right before you go to hell.
Yeah.
This is like just a depressing place. Hell, you might be able to have some. There might be some interesting characters down there.
Hot though.
It's true, but a funeral home, it's sad. That's not a way to celebrate a birthday.
Yeah.
Now with my next pick, Henry, you threw out cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of along the same route here, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go cemetery.
So just
Yeah.
death.
Okay.
Yeah, yep, death. Kind of following that path. I guess
Yep.
Henry's the only one that's alive right now with his. But Todd, you got the next pick.
For my next pick, I think I'm going somewhere just because of the atmosphere. I don't think anybody wants to be there. I'm gonna go with a sewage plant.
Wow.
I think there will be no fun. Smell horrible.
Yeah, that'd be really shitty.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah, no, that is a good one. I'm gonna take.
Back to back.
Give me a morgue,
Yeah.
especially like if you know that, because like you'd probably be there for a reason. You know, you know somebody. Yeah, it would not be a good time. And then also hospital cafeteria.
Oh.
I think that's just like,
Unlimited drinks though.
I guess this serve alcohol. in hospital?
No, just a little cups you can get.
yeah,
With.
yeah, no, that would not be fun either.
Morgue's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, that is
Bro,
good.
somebody said Las Vegas in here. That's crazy.
Oh
What?
dang.
It'd be a great place. That's like the place. Maybe next week we'll do the best place for a birthday party.
Wow.
Yeah. For next pick, these are. I think every one of them is just gonna suck because of what it is that
Yeah.
we're drafting right now.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go HIV clinic.
Wow.
Do you have questions? Yeah, no,
I
that'd
feel
be
like
terrible.
it's a bad place. You can't dance too much. You get poked by something. It's over for you. It just is not a fun spot.
Wow, that's a good
that
one.
would be horrible.
Man, one that's just an awful place to be at all the time is the DMV. Like just the worst place to be.
Yeah.
No fun ever happens there.
That's kind of, sometimes you have to like renew your license that day too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like realistic on top.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm up again here. Man, let's go. I'm gonna play off something Todd said, but I'm gonna go with the porta potty.
Very disgusting.
Yeah, and small, tight space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would not be
That
fun.
wow,
3
that
fans at
really would
most.
not be.
Yeah, and then you only get like one friend too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's pretty.
Or just
bad.
yourself.
Who's catering that?
Yeah, well, probably don't want to ask. Todd, you're up.
This one's like a fond memory, but at the same time, it sucks to have a birthday then. But can I do 2020?
Oh, that's,
Damn,
that's a good one.
That
Like
could actually
Corona.
win the whole thing.
Yeah, that's
The
a
whole
really good.
year.
Because then it's just you and the people in your house.
Yep, and Skype.
Wow.
That's a great one. Yep. Henry, round yourself out with the final 2 picks for you.
Yeah, I'll go in the desert.
Hot.
Just a desert. Just a
That
desert.
could be like Scottsdale, though.
Actually, girlfriend going to Scottsdale. It's gonna be 107 degrees for a bachelorette party. Sounds miserable.
Wow.
I would never.
Getting hot in here.
Yeah. So let's see. We got the desert. Let's go. This might not be a good one. Like I think this might lose me some votes, but a salad bar. Like you just go,
Wow.
you take everybody out for salads on your birthday. That'd be horrible.
Yeah, it's not fun.
That's fair.
It's
yeah.
it's probably too realistic for this, but I got the morgue.
Yeah. That's fair. Todd, your last pick.
This one's tough. I don't know if I have a last one. I gotta think quick because we only have 30 seconds.
Oh, well, we got less than 30 seconds because I got to pick.
Let's go with your parents' bed.
Man, oh wow, that is a really good one, guys. I need help. I have 10 seconds.
Texas Place.
Oh, that's a good one. Let's go with that. Yes, thank
Wow.
you, Tiff. We're gonna put this on Twitter over at DNVR_Broncos. Thank you guys so much for rolling with us on a short week but a fun week. We'll be back on Monday on the DNVR Broncos podcast. Have a terrific weekend.
all silly like the mayor.